available and accessible online and over the phone. We made some major improvements to our aging IT infrastructure, and we gave our building a desperately needed coat of paint. We've also been working on a new initiative with ClearGov, which will help us provide transparency and accountability on our website for public access. In environmental health, our work has continued to things like food safety inspections, annual inspections of schools and pools. These things were hampered but not halted by the pandemic. And on top of those, we had over 1,000 complaints to investigate, everything from businesses operating outside the governor's guidance to failing septic systems and garbage complaints. In our prevention services division, they were busy with COVID-19 efforts, very busy, but still managed to record over 3,000 cases of STDs, perform over 1,300 consultations with childcare providers. That's more than 3 times the 2019 numbers. They investigated over 1,000 communicable disease cases separate from COVID-19 and conducted over 500 technical assistance visits for childhood vaccines. In Arlington specifically, you have 176 food establishments with annual permits that get inspected 1 to 3 times per year. And we followed up on 21 complaints from citizens in your community. Our food safety team worked very hard in 2020 to provide information and clarity to food establishments on the ever-changing guidelines, COVID restrictions, and best practices, since many restaurants were really struggling to interpret the available information while at the same time being open to limited capacity. Our childcare program consulted with 63 childcare providers, and we tested over 1,000 Arlington residents at SHD-run COVID testing sites. So of course, during all of this, we were responding to COVID-19. We have extensive resources on our website for coronavirus information, testing information, resources for businesses, and we also have vaccine appointments now available on our website for SHD mass vaccination sites. Cases in Snohomish County have been largely focused where the population is. That's not really a surprise. This map is called a heat map, where more cases are represented by a darker shade of red. This map represents total cases identified from early 2020 through February 20th of this year. This is a similar map. It shows the current case rate by zip code. The case rate is updated every week based on a 2-week rolling period. Areas in darker blue indicate a higher case rate or faster transmission of the virus. We have been seeing a declining case rate overall, although you'll notice up there in Arlington, it's getting a little blue. Looking ahead, our top priority is ensuring the healthcare system, including hospitals, long-term care facilities, and others, continue to have what they need in order to treat patients. We're actively working to contain the spread of the disease with contact tracing, outbreak investigations, and of course, distribution of the vaccine now. We are working to increase the supply of the vaccine locally and collaborating with partners to increase access and also access information for underserved and at-risk populations. As of February 20th, there were over 92,000 first doses and over 28,000 second doses of the vaccine administered in Snohomish County. We're actively working to decrease the time between when the doses are received in the county to when the doses are administered to patients. We have 112 total providers approved to administer the vaccine and several more expecting approval shortly. Moving forward into 2021, we'll be continuing to navigate the pandemic, of course, but we'll also be focusing on implementing our strategic plan. It's available on the website if you're reviewing it. There's some key points. We do have a balanced budget in 2021. The majority of the funds come from intergovernmental agreements. Thank you very much to the City of Arlington for your contribution towards COVID work in your community. Also, licenses and permits are a major revenue source for us. If all goes expected, we project a slight but continued increase in revenue and expenses over the next 6 years. By 2026, we expect our expenses to slightly outpace our revenue. So therefore, looking ahead for funding, our top priorities are attaining sufficient and sustainable funds for both our COVID work and our daily activities. And we anticipate increasing revenue. We're looking at a couple of different sources. We're looking to lease out currently unused space in our Rucker building in downtown Everett. And we're also working to establish the new Sound Foundation for Public Health, which will help us gain access to funds that we wouldn't normally be able to utilize. The foundation anticipates filing paperwork early this year for its 501c3 status. New board members have been selected, and we're working on finalizing the MOU between the foundation and the health district. Obviously, I have just scratched the surface. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, there are lots of ways to stay in touch. We're active on social media. We also have newsletters, a blog, and a very comprehensive website at this point. There's lots of information up there. And so with that, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Regina. If you'll stop sharing your screen, we'll see if council has any questions for you. There we go.
There we go.
Anybody have any questions for Regina? I really actually want to just give you a thank you to you and all of the staff at the Snohomish County Health District. I know how busy we were last year. I can't even imagine all of the work that came across your plate, but for all the resources you were committed to getting out to the communities and even just the daily flow of information. It's crazy, but we're really appreciative that you're there and doing the work. It's helped our community quite a bit. Anybody else have any questions for Regina? Maybe we'll give her an early night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regina.
Okay.
Thank you for updating us
Thank
on the work.
you.
Okay, so we'll move into our workshop items. And our first item this evening is an interlocal agreement with Snohomish County for Evans Park funding. Sarah Lopez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. So this item is an interlocal agreement with Snohomish County. They want to give us $40,000 to help fund improvements at Evans Park. The city of Arlington also budgeted $100,000 this year to add to the $40,000 to complete the repairs. Some of the repairs planned are replacing the backstop, installing ADA sidewalks and ramps, and parking spaces, ADA parking spaces. Improve the playground with wood chips instead of pea gravel, and complete some building repairs that have needed to be done for many years. So we're anxious to get started on the project, and this is the ILA with the county.
Does anybody have any questions? Jen?
Yes, I did. Now, I noticed it, sidewalks, ADA. So how does Complete Streets work? Because I was thinking that we had a big project on that corner and they were going to address the parking, sidewalks, all of that. So how does that?
That's a little bit south of Evans Park. Evans Park is the park to the north of that intersection. It's not included in that design for Quake Park.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. For some reason, my mind was thinking it was going to address access for both parks.
Right.
At the Boys and Girls Club plus Evans Park. So it just doesn't, it just does the corner.
Yeah, the Complete Streets project actually put sidewalks in on 180th and then on 59. So the sidewalks that Sarah's referring to are internal to Evans Park. So pathways that go to the concession stand and to areas where people can, sit that are in wheelchairs or that can't use the bleachers. So those are pathways that are interior to the park, not like what you'd see along the street.
Oh, okay.
That makes
Thank
sense.
you. That helps.
I can bring you a drawing next meeting or before the next meeting.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I would like to just say this is such a great partnership and it works out well. And I was just wondering, Sarah, this takes care of a lot of things. What's left? Is there anything that's left?
At Evans Park?
Yeah.
So we haven't got complete bids for all the things we want to do. So once we get the complete bids, we'll be able to determine if there's anything left to improve.
Okay, but it pretty much takes care of all the immediate needs.
It does. And then we have volunteers that are working on doing the roof on the restrooms and painting and cleaning up the exterior of the buildings.
Great.
So,
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is wonderful. We need it.
No?
And will you get all the bids? Like, will it be done this year? Is that what you're looking at?
yes, this
Oh.
year.
Nice.
MNO is scheduling it out.
When I looked at the dollar amount, well, Marilyn's question answered mine, but I was wondering if that was enough. So you'll need more though, right? With the other pieces that you want done for the park?
Well, we really haven't determined if this is going to cover everything, but it looks like it could.
No? All right.
We'll see.
Great.
Well, it's awesome.
To acknowledge Councilmember Nate Nearing from Snohomish County who put us in for this funding. Comes out of the county's REAP funds. Deborah?
Thank you. I was trying to scroll through it and trying to remember where I read the 100,000 from the city. What budget is that coming out of? Is it the parks?
It came out of Parks Mitigation. It was budgeted in the 2021 budget for
That's what
park,
I thought I remembered.
specifically for Evans Field.
Yeah, okay, great. And it looks like it's time that gets done there, so.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, what we're up against is that the deferred maintenance on that park has gotten to the point where we either need to do the repairs or we need to close the park.
Yeah, we don't want to close that park.
No, we
so
don't.
It's a priority for the whole community. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sarah?
No.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Next up is the purchase of right-of-way for the 204th 77th Roundabout project. Jim Kelly.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and council members. I know it's pretty late in getting these documents finalized now that the project is going to be getting its final paving next week, but this is the last right-of-way procurement for the 204th Roundabout. This was from McDonald's Corporation. It passed through the local McDonald's office pretty quickly, but it got held up in Chicago over at the McDonald's corporate office. We're looking, we've agreed to purchase amount and temporary construction easement amount for $90,942. Everything is in order and we're ready to move forward and have the mayor execute this purchase agreement.
Are there any questions on this? Thanks for putting the whole budget in the information there.
Yeah.
Jan and then Marilyn.
Okay.
Mine isn't on the project budget or anything, but you mentioned just now that they were going to pave next week. So when they do that, how long does it take for that to dry? How long is it going to be people can't drive on that?
There will be partial road closures. We were discussing this today. It will take 2 days to pave. There will be partial road closures and there'll be some detour routes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was part of my question. And the other part was that there's still money remaining in the right-of-way budget. Is there anything that we need to purchase?
No, there's nothing left. It just goes back right into the overall project fund and we'll balance it out at closeout.
Perfect. Thank
And
you.
also to let you know, Marilyn, the tractor, the artwork will be set
Yeah.
on Friday.
It's what?
It's coming on Friday.
On Friday. Exciting. I love it. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Marilyn's going to be right down there taking pictures.
I am.
Friday morning early.
What's early?
The contractor was saying 7 o'clock, but I have yet to see a schedule.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, so
Okay. I might make it. You never. Oh no, when is it?
Friday at 7.
Okay, I'll try. You never know.
Next up is an appointment to the Planning Commissioner or reappointment. Mark Hayes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. So I originally had 2 reappointments to Planning Commission, but I just got a message from Jan Berg last week that she's going to have to give up her position on Planning Commission because of personal issues. So I'll be out recruiting for a new Planning Commissioner there. But Mike Thomas, of course, is willing to put in some more time as a planning commissioner. And most of you know Mike, you've seen him around for many of a year, and 29 years he's been on planning commission. So he's been around for a lot of changes, and he's willing to take it on for a 5th term. So that's a good thing. So anyways, I'm just looking for approval through the mayor here for reappointment of Mike Thomas to Planning Commission for another term.
Marilyn had her hand up.
Oh, I just want to say that I think Mike is a true asset to the Planning Commission. I actually, before council, worked with Mike on the Planning Commission and then went on to council. But through the years, he has a vision and he has Arlington in his heart. So I can't say enough good things about Mike. I'll leave it at that.
I agree. And it's been great to see that he's been fully present even through all the Zoom meetings and everything to participate in this really busy time. And he'll be an asset after this many years as we get ready to do a comprehensive plan update. It takes Planning Commission about 2 to 3 years to understand the whole groundwork unless they come from experience in that. So it'd be great to have experience on it. Mike, and then Michelle.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last few years that there's quite a turnover on the Planning Commission. And maybe there are on some of the other commissions too, but is there a way that we can get more consistency on the Planning Commission and not have such a high degree of turnover? I realize Mike Thomas is not one of those that's a high level of turnover with his number of years, but I noticed that some of the other members seem to come and go pretty quickly. And so is there a way that can be addressed or mitigated, or is it just part of the scene?
So as much as we express to potential applicants for the Planning Commission that there's a lot of work to be done on Planning Commission, they don't take that to heart until they've been involved in it for about 6 to 8 months. And all of a sudden it becomes pretty onerous on the amount of work that they have to do. And so that's when you see them exit from that position typically.
So you count for just the amount of work. It's just that they're not seeing the amount of work and not willing to put in that amount of work after they see what's there. And you think
correct? I mean, there's been other things that have contributed to that, but for the most part, yeah, that becomes it's a very onerous position, and if you're not doing your homework, then it can be kind of overwhelming.
Yes, I realize that. So there's nothing that can be done about that, though. That's just part of it, and we just have to live with that. I know we even reduced the number of planning commissioners from, I think, 7 to 5 to try to get a little more consistency in having quorums available and the rest of it. But you don't see any way to mitigate that. That's just the way it is. That's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing I can say and do about that. It's just the amount of workload that's incurred by them. And like I said, we stress that during the interviews and try and make it very relevant that here's what you're going to end up doing. But it turns out, it's a lot of work. It's meeting twice a month and having to do your homework. So.
Do they tell you that when they leave? I noticed that the reason tonight was personal reasons. That's pretty generic. It's kind of a non-answer, but.
Well, yeah, Jan had, I know what the reasons are there, that it's a good reason for it. It's not that she wasn't doing her homework, because she was. And so we really will miss her on Planning Commission, but at this point in time, she just doesn't have the time to devote to the position.
Sure, I understand. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
then Jan.
Well, this isn't my comment, but with Mike said, I was wondering, I wonder if you could do like a trial or a 1 month so they can like get an idea of like all the reading that goes into it and everything, and kind of give them an idea, and then see if they still want to sign up for it before they actually become commissioners. But just saying, I don't know, maybe you can't do that. My question is, and this is no relevance to any one specific person, but is there term limits on the boards and commissions in the city or not?
There's no term limits. Their their time runs on 6-year periods. Pardon me. But yeah, there aren't any term limits.
So they can go as, they can come on and be appointed as many times as they want to. Okay.
Which is actually a good thing if you have somebody on there long term.
Mm-hmm.
That way they have that history.
Yeah, I understand. I get the benefit of it. I just wasn't sure if there was term limits or not, or, you know, thanks.
Jan?
Okay, I'm going to follow up a little on what Mike Hobson was saying. And I've been meaning to ask this question several times and just hasn't come up. Is there some reason, and I ask Barb and Paul this, is there some reason that we are not paying some of the commissions? I mean, I look at the Planning Commission. I know how much work they do. I know how much time it takes them to read all that stuff. And I'm sure some of you guys do too, if you've been following. And then you look at the Airport Commission and all those leases and paperwork. Is there any reason why we are not paying some kind of stipend for those commissions?
I think we've ever looked into it.
Can I ask if the council would like to look into that?
Jen, I can tell you it's a discussion we've had many times at the Mayor's Exchange. We're not the only city that has a difficulty at times recruiting and keeping people in a planning commission role. Because as Mark alluded to, you have to get a pretty fundamental base of understanding of the Growth Management Act and your city codes and your comprehensive plan. And so it's a lot of information to absorb. But in our polling there, we couldn't find any other city that was paying a stipend. We do have some that pre-COVID would produce a dinner for the Planning Commission to ensure that they showed up, because sometimes the meetings would go long through the dinner hour. But I haven't found any other cities that have found creative ways. But it's probably something we could talk about. Marilyn?
I just wanted to say that I think that the reason we have commissions and boards, that they are recommending boards to the council. So if we didn't have those boards and commissions, we would have to do all that work ourselves.
Yes.
It's just part of the conversation. We are fortunate that we have volunteers from the community that want to come forward and give their input and recommend to the council. But can you imagine how many hours the council would have to put in if we did not have these boards? So it's a tough one for me. I think they should. I mean, I admire what they do, but I don't know of any that have ever been paid. But so do we work more and longer hours and get paid more because we are able to get paid, or do we even want to go there? I mean, I like the way it is, but
I'd like to hear from Steve Pipel and see if there's any restrictions in state law against it. I think that's the first thing we'd have to check.
Yes,
Well,
thank you. That was what I was going to ask, if we can't see if it's something that's feasible and to at least have the discussion. But go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
You can make a comment on that.
Just by way of history, I believe the city's ordinance has said that planning commissioners are to serve without pay. Now, I believe that's actually a holdover from the time when the city, prior to the time the city adopted the optional municipal code. Because in the, without getting hyper technical, under the statute that governs non-code cities, planning commissioners may not receive compensation. That's in the RCW. I believe actually that under the optional municipal code regulations or RCWs, there is no such language that restricts the council from paying planning commissioners. I can verify that, but I don't believe there's a prohibition against it. If you decided to adopt that, you'd obviously would have to change your planning commissioner ordinance. And then you'd have to wrestle with the question of what that pay would be. Would their pay be set by the Salary Review Commission, or would it be set by you as the council? So there would be lots of ripple effects that you'd have to address. But I don't believe that it's absolutely prohibited. In fact, I believe Monroe compensates its planning commission, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that one.
Maybe we can
We could do some
research and pull what different cities have done, so we have a base to look at.
Yeah.
And Stephen, if you find anything different in the code we adopted that doesn't allow that, please let us know.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Marilyn?
Can I just ask, Steve, does this open the door for any board and commission?
I'm supposing that if you look at compensating one of your commissions, it may make that more popular than some of the other commissions.
I would think so.
I'm wondering if we offered a stipend, if we wouldn't see more diversity on some of our boards and commissions, so that, in some places where there's barriers that people don't allow people to participate, if it might open that up. And I'd be curious to know if other commissions found that to be the case by offering a stipend.
Could be a interesting conversation. Yes.
Definitely one worth having.
I think so.
Michelle?
I like the idea that Jan presented, and maybe it will make a difference and maybe it won't. I mean, it's not a lot of money, no matter how you look at it, I'm sure, but it could offer some sort of incentive, and it might help. I like the idea, and I would like to have a further conversation about that, specifically the Planning Commission.
I will have to say, Mark, I have to compliment you when you did restructure the size of the Planning Commission. I think this is the first vacancy you've had since that time. So that did provide some stability for a period of time, a few years.
So things were moving along where it's, always happens. Things were going too smoothly. So
It happens when we lose a good employee too. We always feel it. And Jan was a great commissioner. She did a good job, and she came into the job with a wealth of understanding and knowledge. So she was able to hit the ground running. Any other questions or comments? We move on to the next item, which I think is also yours, Mark. It's a request for a budget amendment to replace vehicles.
it is. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So this is a request to replace one of our vehicles, fuel vehicles here. It is not currently budgeted for in the 21-22 budget. And so a budget amendment would be required for this. As you can see in the history, we have 3 vehicles, the youngest of that being 18 years old and the oldest being 21 years old. Funny enough, the 21-year-old one is the one that's actually operating still, so go figure. But the plan is to do this, is to surplus the Blazer and the Ford Ranger and purchase this vehicle that's shown in the capital request here. And then next year, we would look at replacing the older vehicle, the 2000 Ford pickup, with a light vehicle at that point in time. But definitely the necessity currently is to surplus the 2 vehicles and get another vehicle that is operational and will last us for many years to come.
Are there any questions?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I have a question. If I'm correct here, the scheduled replacement date was not till 2024. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So this is only 2021. So they're 18 and 21 years old. And so my question is, why is it not scheduled sooner than that? Or I don't understand why the scheduled replacement date is so far beyond today. And there doesn't seem to be a very close approximation between what's scheduled and what's actually occurring. And so that's my question, or quasi complaint, not really a complaint. I'm just curious to see why the discrepancy here.
Well, it's the quick and easy answer to that, Mike, is that you try to get as much life out of these vehicles as possible. We were hoping that we would be able to do that with these vehicles. The equipment replacement fund is really kind of limited by departments. So some departments require vehicle replacement on a more rapid basis than ours. It just so happens that these vehicles became inoperable. The cost of repairs for those exceeded the value of the vehicle, and so we're kind of left at a point here where decision has to be made to do vehicle replacement outside of the budgeted timeline.
This one seems a little bit far off, but in most cases with our fleet vehicles outside of some of the departments like public safety, we get a lot of longevity out of them. They last us well past their normal lifespan. They're local only, they don't leave the city for the most part. So they last a long time. This is one in particular where it kind of snuck up on us. It all of a sudden has more repairs needed than what the value of the vehicle is. So just doesn't seem to make very much sense to put more money into a vehicle than it's worth. Therefore, we're just accelerating the replacement of it. Makes more financial sense.
Okay.
Is this vehicle normally used for?
This is just one of the fleet vehicles that CED uses.
Like for the inspector or?
This vehicle is for the inspector, CED inspector.
I guess I was just asking because it's a pickup truck we're replacing.
And now that we don't have a code enforcement officer currently, he's driving the pickup that was for the code enforcement officer.
Don, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just quick question here. Mark, it looks like you actually got 3 that are dying or dead, and you're only going to replace 2 of them.
Correct.
Okay.
Only one this year.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on that? All right, thank you, Mark. We'll move to your next item, which is a development agreement with Panattoni Development.
Great, thank you, Madam Mayor. So as we've gone through before on large projects, we entered into a development agreement with Panattoni Development, as we have with Smart Cap and Affinity and some of the others in recent times. So this development agreement really ensures that the terms and conditions are addressed and memorialized for the agreement. In this instance, Panattoni is seeking assurances that items such as vesting or permitting processes, disposition of traffic impact fees, required transportation improvements, critical areas, building design and height, and future land use controls will not change within the terms established by this agreement. I did put a note in here regarding one of the exhibits that were attached to this. And so what I'll do is this, I'm going to go down to that exhibit just to verify what the condition is with this. So if you look at Exhibit C.
Are you sure, Mark? Okay, you should be able to.
Is it not coming up?
No, it's up.
Let me move it over here. Now, can you see it?
No.
No, but we saw it before. Whatever.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anybody say that they saw it. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So on this exhibit, you'll see segment 1.
Mhm.
Segment 1 shows a sidewalk on the right-hand side of the screen. 8-foot sidewalk.
Mhm.
Okay.
So as you go down through segment 2, 3, and 4, you'll notice that there is no sidewalk illustrated on those roadway segments.
Why is that?
Because it wasn't included in this exhibit. And so that's why I put the note in there that they need to show that delineated on this exhibit, because that's the agreement we have, is that this roadway would be built in totality. And it is not illustrated correctly on this exhibit. And so in order to move this through the process, I said that I would take it through workshop, explain and walk through the development agreement with council. But if this exhibit hasn't been updated, then I would pull it from the agenda for the 15th, and a public hearing would not be held at that time.
Good.
Okay, so they should be putting we're hoping they would be putting a sidewalk in that entire area.
Correct.
Okay. Have you spoken to them about this?
I emailed them. I've got a response back saying proceed forward, but they haven't responded back in a manner that they are changing it. So that's their prerogative. If they don't want this to move forward to public hearing and be adopted, then I guess we'd be at a standstill at that point.
I would think this would be a rather minor detail to this entire project.
Correct.
Okay.
So Mark, this is Deborah. It's the public trail. I can't say the word, sorry, but on that map though, because that's part of Exhibit C also.
Yeah, Deborah, the public trail is on the north side of the alignment, and the sidewalk is on the south side of the alignment.
But they have the public trail showing throughout the whole segment of the new road?
Correct.
Okay. I had one other question that was brought up through this agreement, was about the possible roundabout. I forget was it 43rd?
43rd roundabout.
Yeah. And so it kind of sounded like maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen, but isn't that a critical place for a roundabout?
So Pantone is presenting the roundabout at their cost, ahead of schedule from WashDOT. And so that is not part of this development agreement. They're doing that on a voluntary basis.
Okay.
And so it was not included in the development agreement.
But is it going to happen as an agreement with WashDOT?
That's what they're moving towards right now. So they had the roundabout under review with WashDOT
Okay.
for design. A couple of things are happening here, and so WashDOT's waiting still for an updated transportation impact analysis that we requested as a city from the developer. We also requested to have a corridor study done for 172nd to include all the intersections, including Smoky Point Boulevard and the I-5 interchange. And so they have agreed to both of those, but they are trying to do the updated TIA and the review of the roundabout with WashDOT concurrently.
What's TIA?
The transportation impact analysis.
Okay. And then one question about that corridor study, because as I was reading through that, I think it was 27th was one of the streets. Is that, or 20, I think it was 27th. And I was trying to place where that is.
That's on the other side of the that's the west side.
Okay,
So because those signals in that intersection impacts the corridor and the intersections on the east
Yeah.
side of the I-5, that needs to be evaluated also.
whole east-west corridor. It doesn't just stop at the freeway. Okay,
Correct.
I got it. Thank you.
Can I ask you to close your screen sharing so I can see if any other council people have questions?
Sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Jan, now I can see if they have their hands up.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I couldn't even figure out how to unmute myself. So on the roundabout, I know that when we started on, or when they put 531 on connecting Washington, the cost was 39 million. Sometime in the last 2 months on some transportation place I lose track sometime. They mentioned that the cost of 531 was going up. So I was wondering if they do spend the 6 million on that roundabout, is that going to take care of some of that cost, or are we still going to be short for funds for 531?
Well, that's a great question, Jan. Theoretically, yes, it should reduce the overall cost of the project. I've not heard that confirmed by WashDOT as of yet, but.
Okay. Well, then my second question, I know 168th and to me, that's one of my top priorities to hopefully get done before they start on 531, but 43rd. And I read through everything twice, but 43rd, are they going to pay to expand 43rd down to 168th?
That's correct. Yes, they're doing a widening of a 43rd.
Okay, now will they have sidewalks and pathways on that too? Because I mean, it's
Yes.
right. I mean,
There currently is a sidewalk on that side that has to be removed, and it has to be, the roadway section is increased, widened out, and then improvements will be placed back in.
Okay, real good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
David, did you want to speak to something?
Did you have your hand up? I couldn't tell if you just were moving your hand or you had it up. No? Okay.
I was just asking David Toyer, who's the representative for Pantone, if he wanted to add anything to this conversation.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity, Council and Mayor. I actually just put it into chat as well. But regarding Exhibit C, we got the feedback from Mark that we needed to make those adjustments last Thursday. We're in the process of updating that, but that was like Thursday afternoon. So we need just a little time to get that turned around. So.
Great, thank you, David.
Good.
Any other questions or comments on this development agreement? And I imagine the public hearing will be next Monday night,
Correct.
provided we get the information back from David's client.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mark. We'll go to our final item this evening, which is a dedication of real property for a public right-of-way.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is an acceptance or a request for acceptance of right-of-way for the Starbucks on 204th. This was a piece of right-of-way that allowed for the trail section to be installed in front of the new Starbucks built on the property. And so it is both delineated in the legal description and exhibit, and as well as in the illustrative map.
Questions, Jan?
I'm sorry. I spent too much time reading all this material. But on the maps that showed Starbucks. Because of the senior housing that's going in behind Bartels, is Starbucks going to run maybe sidewalks in there, or is someone else going to run sidewalks in there so that the people that are living back there and the senior housing can walk up to the Starbucks?
There is a sidewalk that's installed from 204th into Starbucks. And then as a part of the reserve project, there will be a crossing back on that access driveway to get to Starbucks.
Okay.
So there'll be a pedestrian access along there.
Okay, real good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments on the right-of-way litigation? So none. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, do you have any administrative reports this evening?
I do. I just wanted to remind council that our spring retreat's coming up April 10th. So it's a few weeks off. Wanted to propose that we were looking at the governor's latest restrictions on meetings, and we've logistically worked through a way that we could have kind of a hybrid in-person meeting for the retreat. We could use the council chambers, similar to what we did, I think, at one of our last couple of meetings when we were in person, where we spread council out on the dais and are kind of around, or we'll set up big tables in the center of the room so that everybody can social distance. The directors would Zoom into the meeting, so they'd be able to answer questions that came up by Zoom, and come in and make any presentations in person. But that's just would keep the occupancy of the room down. So I wanted to propose that to council, and if you have any concerns or want to discuss it, would you just please get a hold of me, either give me a call or email me, and we can talk about it further. But that was a thought that we had, so that we'd have the ability for all of us to get together, but still remain safe and within the governor's orders.
If that makes anybody uncomfortable, or if anybody has an inability to do that, we want to make sure everybody can participate, so we can look at hybrid, have to Zoom in as well. But we thought, we haven't been in meeting in the same place, and for a retreat, it would be probably conducive to the conversations we need to have, to be in the same room.
I think it's great.
My only question is, and because I haven't paid attention to large group type of rules at this point, would we be wearing masks?
It's recommended that you wear masks.
I can send out a list of the requirements. The room would can't be more than 25% of its occupancy. So we would be less than that if it was just a council, mayor, myself, and Steve. And then, like I said, we bring the directors in one at a time as we need them for presentations, but just to keep the room, so we could allow everybody to social distance and stay well underneath that 25%. Everybody would still have to wear masks. We wouldn't have any buffet meals or anything like we've done in the past. Any food would be brought in, would be, sealed, packaged type food.
And it would still be accessible to the public through the online mechanisms, because it is a public meeting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my only concern would be that we do follow that protocol, because due to my cancer, for all my fellow council people, my immune system is very compromised. So I would just ask, for the protocol to be followed carefully, so I stay healthy as possible. Thank you.
Mike, did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I just want to add, my understanding is, at least as of today, that it would be safer if the people in the room all had their shots, double vaccinations, because I know that is safe based upon the CDC today. It's safe for people who have had their vaccinations totally, that they can meet in a closed setting. And so I would recommend that those who have had their shots could meet in the same room in the council chambers, but that those who have not, they could then continue to Zoom in. That's my only comment on that as of today.
We talked about that at our ops meeting this morning, and in work settings, you're still required to wear a mask even if you have been vaccinated. And I'm not sure our whole council has come up on the list yet of available groupings to be vaccinated. So we want it to be your personal comfort level for you to make a determination how you feel. Paul will send out what the criteria will be. We won't be doing any shared food or anything like that. So we'll have sanitation in the room, but think about where your comfort level is and let us know so we know how to plan. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Is there any comments from council this evening? Jan?
I'm sorry. Okay. And I don't know how many of you already know this, but last night in Everett, our Swift Blue Line, there was a disagreement between two gentlemen, and one shot the other one and killed him on the bus. I got an email about 9:45 last night from the CEO, and then I got a text later on this afternoon. The bus driver's fine, but pretty traumatized. And right now, that's all the information we have. We don't know what caused the disagreement, but to have someone shot and killed on your bus is pretty traumatic, and it's been kind of a tough day. Anyway, just wanted to make sure you guys heard that, because I'm sure it'll still be in the news for a while. Thank you.
It's got to be traumatic for the workers on there. Marilyn?
I just wanted to say that we have some interesting art projects and park projects coming up with the airport, and exciting stuff. And I sent out a little update from the Friends of the Library. I hope you all received that. They do a good job, and it was nice to hear what they've been doing for newborns, new moms, dads. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Michelle?
I was wondering if, I don't know, at the meeting or whenever, Paul, can we talk about like how we're going to notify the community about fireworks being illegal this year? Because we're in March right now. So just wondering like how we plan on notifying besides social media. So I thought that we can maybe get some ideas on that. And so whenever you think that's appropriate to maybe talk about.
Okay. Yep, we'll put that together.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Don?
Just wanted to follow up. I think the last I heard of our Blue Line flag issue is to be discussed at the retreat.
Yes, I've also asked for a recommendation from the police chief. It's his department and the symbol for his department to really feel that he needs to take a recommendation and pass it on to me and the council of what he'd like to see happen.
Great.
So it will be up for discussion on the retreat?
Build that into the agenda.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Well, we have a public safety meeting, I think, next week. And so that might be a good time, Jessica, to bring that up, I think.
Else?
One other quick question. I was just curious, Jessica and Marilyn, do you guys get a report from Jonathan on like once a week of some of the major stuff that's happening within the police department?
No, the whole council gets the report from each department monthly. So the police report is in the council report packet that goes out monthly. Wendy sends them out about the 10th of the month. So each department puts their report in for the month. So it's the same report that the liaisons get.
Okay, I know we get that one. I was just curious if there was like a weekly.
You store it online so you can get access to them, past ones and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah, no, I get them, but I was just curious if there was something that we could get on a weekly basis of some of the major incidents that might happen during that week.
Occasionally we get, we have conversations about things that are going on, but it's not like a report of any sort. It's just conversation about issues or areas that maybe need to be addressed.
I try to let the council and the mayor know if there's anything public safety wise that comes up that's a major concern.
I think that's what Marilyn and Jessica report on back to the council. That's why they're the liaisons to report those incidents and issues and upcoming considerations back to the council. So that's what we do right now during this time period. Michelle?
Yeah, so when you asked that question, Dot, made me wonder, like, everyone has minute meetings. I can go on and pull park minutes, and there's airport. But for the safety, are there meeting minutes that we have access to whenever they meet then, besides what comes in the monthly report that I read and I know where they're at? So are there minutes from those safety meetings?
No.
They're not commission meetings. Those are liaison meetings.
I'm sorry, would you say, Marilyn?
I said, no, there are liaison meetings, and just like any other liaison meeting, there's no individual minutes for that particular meeting. It's just the park board meeting has their minutes, planning commission, and the liaison that goes to that. But for public safety, no one takes minutes. There is no, there just isn't any. It's just everything is incorporated into the monthly reports, unless there's something in the meantime that comes up, and Jessica usually speaks to that, or I could, whoever, if there's some particular thing that wasn't on the monthly minutes.
Okay, well, right, because the airport, you have your liaison, but there's minutes. So that made me think, oh, there must be minutes then when he asked the question.
Not for public safety.
Okay.
Not, I don't know. Is there any other ones?
Airport's a commission, so it's the commission that has the meeting. It's a public meeting and it has the minutes. But if there's something, that you feel like you're not getting in the public safety reports, your monthly reports and stuff, be sure to let us know. We'll be happy to talk with Jonathan if there's a way to capture data that you want that you're not getting.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is I was listening to a radio station just the other day, and here comes a blurb over it about our PD and a call that came into our PD that was sort of a weird call that turned into something totally different. I don't know if anybody else heard about it.
No. Sometimes you don't want to, I guess we don't need to get over involved. I mean, for everything that happens. I mean, Jonathan is very good at, and Dave too, about bringing up any kind of incidents or any issues. But I think a day-to-day, I mean, they go through all kinds of stuff. I mean,
like I said, I try to let council and the mayor know if there's anything that comes up that's
real bad. Yeah.
Or they'll tell us if it's something that we think will be notified about. So like when we were having vigilantes and stuff in the city, he would update us on that, but that was a while back.
Yeah.
Any other council members have a report, comments? I just have a short one. Is myself and several mayors from Snohomish County met with the governor's staff today to discuss phase 3, trying to help determine what phase 3 of the reopening will be and seeing how far we could push that. So we hope that they were very receptive to the ideas we had, and we think probably somewhere around March 15th, we might be hearing about moving into and what that next phase will be for phase 3, which I think will be of benefit to some of our outdoor activities and certainly our youth sports and adult sports, as well as our businesses. So we have our fingers crossed on that. Great. We had no members of the public that wish to speak to the council this evening. Oh, let's go. Yeah, I want to see what anything you'd like to have on consent agenda for next week.
I would suggest 1 and 6. Oh, I take that back.
Yeah.
2 and 6, because I'd like to have the Evans Park thing. for people.
What about 4? Do we need to do the replacement vehicle? I mean, I don't care, but it just seems
We
like,
do keep budget amendment items on the agenda.
okay, that's fine then.
So the 2 dedicated right-of-ways, item
Yeah.
number, attachment B and attachment F.
Mhm.
Anybody in disagreement with that?
Nope.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Dean adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.